climate change. I'm going to do another one here. I had a question. Um, in the days of Noah, the climate changed drastically. Drastically. There had never been rain before, ever. No rain, right? There was a mist that came up from the ground. There was groundwater. I don't believe the oceans were as big as they are today. There was a lot more land, right? And so there's this mist that comes up from the groundwater under the ground, all over the place. There were rivers. There were definitely rivers. But all of the sudden, Noah and his family, God shut them up in the ark. Noah didn't shut the door. But Noah's been building this boat for over a year, right? He's been building this boat for a long time. And him and his sons, they get on the boat. All these animals get on. It wasn't just 2x2, okay? That was 2x2 of the unclean animals. So there were 2 lions, there were 2 bears, there were 2 wolves, there were 2 Samoyeds. I totally believe that the Samoyed was on the ark. I don't know about poodles and chihuahuas, but there was 2 of each kind. It doesn't say 2 of each species, 2 of each kind. So there were 2 long-necked dinosaurs, and there were 2 elephants, and there were 2 giraffes, and there were 2 triceratops, and there were 2 of each of the unclean that you would not eat. But there were 7 cows. Well, it wouldn't have been 7 cows. It would have been like 3 cows and 4 bulls, maybe, or 4 cows and 3 bulls. But there were 7. And the same way with the sheep, there were 7, and there were 7 goats, and what else? There were 7 doves, probably 7 quail. There might have been 7 chickens. I'm still wondering if chickens are actually clean because they're nasty. Okay, so of all the clean things, there were 7. So you've got this ark, this boat, that's been laminated and everything else, full of animals. It's got 8 people on it, and God shuts the door. Well, he shut the door, number one, because he wanted to pressurize everybody in there, and also because he didn't want Noah to open the door and let somebody in that he shouldn't have, right? So God shuts the door, and Noah can't open it. And then the rain comes, and that's the first time there's ever been rain, and we don't really know if it came in clouds. I don't think there were clouds. It says the fountains of the great deep broke up, and the windows of heaven opened. So I don't think there were any clouds involved, at least not at the very beginning, okay? So you had like geysers all of a sudden burst forth out of the ground, and like Yosemite. And then you had the windows of heaven in the firmament open up and allow some of the water from above the firmament, some of that separation water, to come down. And the climate changed drastically. Did people cause it? Yes, they did. They caused it with their sin, right? So, we need to be careful whenever we are being activists in one way or shape or form. We need to be careful with how we state things, because we don't want to battle a falsehood with another falsehood, and we can so easily do that. So we need to be careful about that. Is the climate changing now? The Bible says that the earth will travail as if it's in labor, okay? I've had 6 babies, and labor's not fun, okay? So I'm if the earth is going to travail as like a woman in labor, then don't you think that's going to be some climate change? Now, I think part of what is going on, which actually, other than the regular haze that we see nowadays, I don't know. They're starting. They're over there. Yep, we've got a little X over there, and I think they're actually trying to hide it from us. I think that's part of it. Not all of it, of course. There was some poison going on, I'm pretty sure. And, the seeding thing, the cloud seeding, I think they're um, deceiving themselves on some of that. Or they're trying to uncloud seed as far as our area is concerned. I think they get mad every time we actually get rain. I'm wondering at this point. But because we need it, please pray for Northwest Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle, please, and southwestern Kansas. We just need it bad out here. Anyway, um, I think I think some of their biggest stuff is, well, they've got to have a reflective surface to bounce the cell tower, the cell service and stuff out of, because of course where they're saying some of this is coming from is anyway, and they're shooting down their satellites. So that they need to have something reflective that helps bounce the waves so that we can all communicate, right? But they're trying to disrupt so we can't actually see what's happening. And I think they're hoping, it says whenever Jesus comes back, it says that every eye will see. And I think they're hoping if they can just kind of cover up with a cloud of gunk that nobody will see him whenever he comes. And they've also been playing with, holographic images and stuff. And, they there's these ideas going around about trying to create like an alien invasion or a fake rapture scenario type thing, and we know the enemy really enjoys deceiving people, and the Bible talks about the deception and the great deception, right? And warns us to be careful about not allowing ourselves to be deceived. So the only way that we can fight climate change, or that we can fight the climate war that's going on against us, is to stay in the Word, stay in the Bible, know what it says, know what's going on, know what's actually happening. Don't say there's no such thing as climate change, because number one, they're not going to listen to you. They're going to think you're full of hooey. Number two, it's not necessarily true. There is climate change, and we are causing it. We're not causing it in the way they think we are. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the diesel emissions coming out of my truck, okay? I like my diesel truck. I like the tractor. And you can take your wind towers and stuff them. And some people might be able to get by just fine with the solar, have fun with that. But it's not efficient. It's not efficient, okay? And diesel works really well. I mean, the first cars were electric cars. Some of the first ones were electric cars. We went to diesel and gasoline for a reason, okay? Because Mr. Ford was not stupid. I may not agree with everything that Mr. Ford did, but he was not stupid. The assembly line works, and diesel and gasoline work, okay? And trees and stuff. I mean, I've seen some oil spills out in the boonies, and the vegetation around those areas loves it. It all grows much better. The animals know to stay clear for a little while until things, soak in and do their thing, but it works for fertilizer in a way. I mean, anyway, uh, yeah, climate change. What's going on? And they'll show you these pictures of the Euphrates River drying up and the Mississippi drying up. They're only showing you one little area. You go up or down, the river a little ways, and then it's flooded in another spot. So I mean, take all of that with a grain of salt. I can tell you, Northwest Oklahoma has practically become a desert. We've got a little rain here lately that has been such a blessing. But if we don't continue to get more rain, it's doing nothing but creating a bunch of fodder for fires later. So, unfortunately, I'm having a hard time keeping a good attitude about it because when we first bought our property, it was so green and there were so many trees and it was beautiful. And I was so happy. And I had trouble getting my garden to grow because it kept flooding out. Um, and now we've we have to haul water from town for the animals and stuff, and it's frustrating and it's sad. So yeah, and there's climate change that happens. The old timers around our area say that back in the 50s it was even worse than in the Dust Bowl. Okay, so they talk about the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, but they don't tell you about the terrible drought of the 50s, do they? No, we had Elvis to keep everybody busy, right? And Marilyn Monroe. So what was anybody else paying any attention about? They definitely weren't paying attention to their neighbors. Maybe there was a few people praying that Northwest Oklahoma and Texas can't Panhandle get some rain. But yeah, the dust storms and stuff, that's part of the cycle out here. And I think you'll find that there's several areas of the world that just kind of have a cycle. Also, people go in and they try to redirect, waterways and stuff and start messing with things. And you start messing with things and you cause issues. There's a ton of irrigation going on in our area right now. And while in one way irrigation can be good for some things, if you start irrigating everything, um, then you've got a bunch of water that's going up into the atmosphere, and not all of it's hitting the ground because it's being sprayed, and you're pulling that water out of the groundwater, and you're depleting the aquifer. So there's a whole nother problem there. So it's hard for us. We're supposed to be stewards, and we are supposed to be, have dominion over this earth, but we screwed it up, guys. And I mean, within that first 100 or so years, Adam was told, you're going to have thorns and thistles, and you're going to have to work by the sweat of your brow to get the earth to produce its fruit for you so you can eat. It's the way it is. And the cycles began, right? And after Noah got off the ark, God promised he would not flood the whole earth again. So it has not happened again. And he promised that seed time and harvest and summer and winter would keep happening. So you've got all 4 seasons that are going to happen. Sometimes they happen several times in one day in Oklahoma. But, generally we're going to have all 4 seasons, and that's going to happen until the end of time. In Revelation, it says at one point, after God's people are marked with his mark, that's an important thing to remember, that he's going to stop the winds, that there are angels over the 4 winds of the earth. And he is going to tell those angels to stop the winds. Think about it. No air movement. So we've got all these wind generators all over the place. To do what? because somebody knows that Revelation says that. And somebody is trying to be prepared for that. They're trying to be prepared. The enemy is trying to be prepared for what they know is going to happen. But does the church know what's going to happen? I have my doubts, because most of the church doesn't want to hear it. They want to go to church on Sunday, and then they want to go home, and they want to have their church dinner, and they want to go do their thing, and they want to go to their ball game, and they want to go to, and then we've got to go to work on Monday, and then we've got our activities, and we've got all this stuff going on, and I just don't have time, right? I just don't have time. Well, and then you're not prepared, are you? And so, and whose fault's that? And then you're scared to death whenever something happens. And then we've got people that are arguing about the climate. And oh my goodness, we need to quit using diesel trucks. And well, good luck with that. What's going to happen whenever you can't use a diesel tractor? You're going to be hungry. You'd better have your victory garden out in your backyard or in your balcony or whatever, and you'd better be ready. I mean, somebody, you know who, is trying to buy up all the farmland anyway. Chinese own most of the pigs in America. So you've got who owns everything? They're paying farmers not to farm. Okay, that's been happening for a long time. It's happening more and more and more. And some of the farmers are at their wits' end to the point that they're willing to take it, that they do not know how to survive without taking USDA money to not farm. All right? That's where we're at. And the USDA and the EPA are fighting in U.S. Congress right now about some of these issues. And they're wanting to take over more land, and they're wanting to federalize more land, and they do not want people to eat. Their plan is, what is it? Well, before the Georgia Guidestones were demolished, what did they say? That it was supposed to be kept down to a certain population. Get it down to a certain population because people are a plague on the earth. That's what they believe. And more and more and more and more people believe that. So if you can talk people into not breeding and to killing themselves with chemicals and more chemicals and more chemicals, and you can start starving them, and you can get them so unhealthy, then you gradually end up with that population diminishing, right? Yep. Something to think about, right?